Question. So, do you know anybody who's confused often? Someone who just seems to have trouble thinking, going from one thought to the next fluently? Someone who forgets their keys often, or maybe consistently misplaces a child, things like that. Or do you know anyone whose energy is just always in the tank? Someone who's lethargic. Somebody who can go to sleep for 8, 9, 10 hours and still wake up and be tired for the better part of the day. Somebody who's overly emotional, somebody who seems to want to put their life on the line because someone stepped on their shoes or because they cut them off in traffic. Now, these people may not be bipolar. These people may not need medication. They may simply need a good, clean glass of water, or several, actually.
Turn the beat up a little bit more in here, Benjineer, please. I guess I'm doing this one.
So you have just heard from the water doctor himself. I want to thank you so much for joining us here at Inward Beauty, Dr. Ayokunle Azubike Akachi from Dark Matters Universe, Dark Matters Media, and Dark Water. We really appreciate you coming today.
My pleasure.
Awesome.
I look forward to talking to the Inward Beauty crowd.
Yeah, that's
All
right.
those beautiful sisters out there.
That's right, beauties. Did you guys hear that? So he's going to show us how we can remain beautiful by drinking that water. So we're going to get right into it. So I read an article, Women's Health Magazine to be exact, fairly recently. And basically they said drinking at least 2 cups of water will increase blood flow to the skin, contributing to a healthy glow. Because when the skin is hydrated, it looks more plump. So, Doc Io, really, how important is water?
Well, water is essential. It's foundational, it's fundamental. It's absolutely crucial to life. That question is kind of like asking how important are the bricks in a brick home? How important is the wood that creates the structure of a home? It's foundational. Without water, there is no life. That's why scientists today, whenever they're looking for other planets, the first thing they're looking for is water. Because if water is there, it's a good chance that life is there. So it's absolutely essential, fundamental, foundational.
You know what? I saw you at the Atlanta Vegan Food and Tea Festival recently. And I heard you being referred to as the water doctor. Now, your spiel was very impressive. I've never heard anything like it. How did you become known as the water doctor?
Well, when myself and my colleagues were out and about spreading the good news of water, one of my colleagues dubbed me the water doctor. Because, right. I'm a repository of information when it comes to water, and so he dubbed me the water doctor because of my level of expertise on the subject, and so that's how I became known as the water doctor. I don't actually have a PhD in water, if there is such a thing, and I don't have that. And however, my research has garnered that title from people close to me.
That sounds good to me. I tell you, I listen. I said, "Oh, that sounds like a water doctor to me."
Right.
So I need to ask him a couple questions. That's good. Let me ask you this: so, what type of water do you recommend?
Well, I would recommend water that has been purified, or not only purified, but purified and healed. And I say that to say this. There's reverse osmosis, that's a purification method. Ionization, a purification method used by Kangen and other machines like that. There's distillation. There's all these different types of purification methods. The difference between their process and our process, which we'll talk about later, is they focus primarily on the purification aspect and not on the healing aspect of water. Like our cells, water has an external environment and an internal environment. So what you have to do is whatever purification method you use, you also have to incorporate a healing aspect of it. So even if you use reverse osmosis, that's great. However, now you've purified the water, you've decontaminated the body of water. Now you need to bring balance back to the internal, the spirit of the water. So you shouldn't have one without the other. You can bring it back to its most optimal self, the water molecule. Bring the water back to its most optimal self, where it's full of life, it's full of energy. If you also incorporate a healing aspect to it, so you can use reverse osmosis, which is great. Then you heal it after that. But you can do ionization, which is great. Then you heal it after that. You can distill it, and then after you remineralize it, the distillation removes the minerals. Then you add a healing component to it. So whatever you use, you want to try to also incorporate a healing component in your strategy.
And what if you gather spring water? You just kind of speak over it, have good intentions.
You speak over it. The words, according to the research of Masaru Emoto, the first scientist, the first researcher who took a picture of water molecules after it had been exposed to certain sounds.
I remember that.
Yeah. Book is right there. You want to speak over it, and you want to say words like appreciation, give appreciation over it, gratitude, and love, which is the two most powerful words according to Masaru Emoto. Love and gratitude cause the water molecules to take a very symmetrical crystal form, which means it can carry the most energy in that form. So love, appreciation, gratitude, all those positive affirmations, the same way our bodies, or we respond to positive affirmations when we say it to ourselves and other people say it to us, the water responds to it that exact same way, primarily because we are water. So the way we respond to it, water responds to it that same way. So you collect water from a spring, which is already probably the best that you can get. Then you'll want to speak those affirmations over your water, which our ancestors had it right when they said grace over everything. Which, you know.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. So how much water would you recommend we drink?
Well, it's been said, 8 glasses of water a day keeps the doctor away, or a variation of that, right? That's not totally true, because the same way that people are very similar, we're also dissimilar. So we all have, people generally have 2 arms, 2 legs, head, 2 eyes, nose, mouth, ears, all those things. We have a heart, we have lungs that do primarily the same thing. However, if you give one person a specific herb, it may heal them. You give another person that herb, it may do nothing. If you let somebody listen to a certain type of music, it may move them spiritually and emotionally. Somebody else listens to it, it does nothing. So we're essentially different internally just as much as we are alike externally, right? So depending on your lifestyle, how you grew up, your emotional state, where your thoughts are you sitting at a computer every day, all day, which is dehydrating because of the electromagnetic radiation coming from computers? Do you talk on your cell phone a lot? Your cell phone always on? Are you in a hot climate, a cold climate? Is it a dry heat, or is it a very humid heat? All those things play a part. Do you exercise, or do you sit around and not do much? Are you a vegetarian? Do you eat a lot of meat? All these things play a part. So, to answer your question directly, what we need to do is become more sensitive to our bodies, to our own individual bodies, to tell if you're drinking the appropriate amount of water. For example, are you thirsty? If you're thirsty often, then you're dehydrated often. Because as soon as you get thirsty, your body's already telling you you're mildly dehydrated. So what you want to do is try to drink enough water to where you're not thirsty. You also want to make sure you're not drinking too much water, because that can be an issue too. So if you drink too much water where you're urinating every 30 minutes or every hour, then you know you're drinking too much, then you need to cut back. So you want to try to find that happy medium between no thirst and only urinating once every 2 or 3 hours.
And it should be pale yellow, right?
It should be pale yellow. It should not be transparent, like just water coming out. And it also shouldn't be dark and concentrated, which is another issue.
It should be
orange. So it should be that pale yellow. That's how you know you're right, that a good level of hydration. So fall in between not being thirsty and urinating every 2 to 3 hours.
So our water doctor here represents dark water, in addition to Dark Matters Universe. And there is a YouTube channel, so it is linked below. The link is below there. And Dark Matters Media. what I'm showing you right here is a shungite stone, which is actually inside the water. It's used to charge the water. It also had other names before it was known as shungite. One was called the black
The black
stone.
stone.
Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
some other names. And it's actually inside the water. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, shungite is a stone that is 98% carbon dense. That's type 1. There are three different types of shungite. What makes them so significant, one of the primary reasons that they're so significant is they actually carry an electric charge. If you were to take your the device that you use to measure voltage, you can actually take your positive and your negative electrode, rub it on the shungite stone, and it'll register an electric charge, which lets you know this water has life-giving energy within it. And if you were to add this stone, the shungite stone, to your water, that energy within the stone will be transferred via the minerals into your water. So I think that's one of the things that makes our water so unique is because we not only purify our water, but we also heal our water with the shungite stones and other methods as well, like light therapy, sound therapy. We remineralize and we re-energize the water primarily with the shungite stone. So shungite is wonderful. It's not type 1, the type that we use is 98% carbon dense. And if you were to look up on YouTube or any other research papers you may come across, there are also what makes shungite so special is what they call uh,
The fullerene.
the fullerenes, but there's another buckyballs is what they're known as, named after the scientists who discovered them, Buckminster Fullerene.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, so they're called fullerenes. You can, by the technical term, like C60, C70, C80, just the composition of the carbon molecules or whatever. But that's what makes them so significant. That's what allows these stones to carry an electric charge, which allows you to recharge or put life back into the water after it's come through pipes, which denature the water, robs it of its energy, robs it of its essence. After it's been hit with chlorine and fluorine and all these other different chemicals, which is another form of purification, but then you got your chemicals in the water too. These shungite stones actually attract the chlorine and fluorine and all the other contaminants to it and take it out of the water. So now you're drinking remineralized, re-energized, life-giving water once again, the way that the Creator designed it.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. So their website is called darkmattersuniverse.com. The link is also listed. I actually have my water here, so you guys remember to get some. I've been drinking it for about 7, almost 8 months, and I absolutely feel and see the benefits. I appreciate your work. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for visiting.
No problem. My pleasure.
With us today. Beauties, I'm sure we really appreciate this. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to
I would like to actually say
sure
one more thing in reference to the water.
Okay.
In my research of the water, I noticed some things that have to do like directly with Black people, almost like a message found within the water. In a sense, right? Water molecules stick together because they're polar molecules. They have a negative side and a positively charged side, right? And so because of that, they stick together. And that sticking together is called cohesion, right? Which is what provides like water tension, water surface tension. So if you can set something on top of the water and it stays on the surface, like there's a lizard that can run on water, right? It's called the Jesus Christ lizard because it can run on the water. It can only do that because the water molecules create that foundation because of the cohesion. Now, if you were to put water, let's say on glass or something like that, then it spreads out. It doesn't bead up, and that's because of adhesion. What I found interesting about that was when I think about us in our community is the cohesion brings the water molecules together. To me, that seems a lot like culture. That's what culture does. It keeps people tied together. Culture is like cohesion. Now, what culture does, it protects the community, protects the minds and the hearts of the community. So let's say you can try putting a paperclip on top of water and the paperclip will stay there. The water won't allow the paperclip to penetrate. into the culture of the water. It'll keep it right. It'll keep it at bay. For example, black people, if we have a certain view on marriage, we have a certain view on how our teenagers or whomever court each other, right? And now we have another influence coming in from the outside that says, you're supposed to just date. Go on, take that man's daughter out, go on to the club with her, and dance with her. And we like, because our cohesion says we don't do that. So we're not letting that in. We're going to keep you at bay. We're going to keep you on the surface. Water does that. And it's only when water can only become contaminated when that cohesion is broken. Then water becomes contaminated. If you put chemicals in the water and it breaks the cohesive forces with its own adhesion, now water becomes contaminated. You see what I'm saying? And that's what happens to us. And I think that the lesson in that is if we can reestablish our cohesion, then their adhesive behavior can't penetrate our culture, and we can keep them on the outskirts. That's one lesson that I picked up just from studying water. And in essence, we are water, so I can see ourselves in the water. And anybody who looks it up can see us in the water, because we are water. So what you see on an atomic or molecular level is really who we are as a people. So that's one. That was a lesson that I picked up from the water. Just to share.
Thank you so much. Well, I know you guys enjoyed that sauce today. Again, this is the Water Doctor, Ayokunle Azubike Akachi of Dark Matters Universe, Dark Matters Media, and Dark Water. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. My pleasure.
The website again is darkmattersuniverse.com. All of the information is below. Thanks for tuning in to Inward Beauty. And remember, beauties, beauty starts within.